Welcome back to another episode of Checking In. In studios with me this morning, I have Shane Bishop, CEO of Catalyst Healthcare and founder of Pack for You. Thank you very much for joining us, Shane.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really, really excited. You are a very, very impressive individual and story and company, and I'm really excited to take a dive through your journey, and hope you will, and I'm sure you will entertain us in giving us a peek behind the curtain. Catalyst Healthcare. I usually start way back in the early days and work forward to something, but I want to set the stage through the lens that I see it. So you have a company, you create a robot that speaks to the healthcare workers and the industry that take care of the individual in their homes, and it gives medication. So there's the stage. So now I want to back up. Went to school in Kelowna at Okanagan College and UBCO to become a pharmacist.
Yeah, I grew up in Kelowna, graduated from Rutland Senior Secondary, spent 2 years at UBC, Okanagan here, and then ended up taking my 4 years of pharmacy school down in Vancouver at UBC.
Okay. And I'm curious because you hold a set of traits that maybe don't hang out together a lot. So it's the healthcare, health industry with sprinkle in a whole lot of entrepreneurship. Love the combination, but I'm curious. Technically or typically the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So do you come from a family that is healthcare or entrepreneurial or neither?
More entrepreneurial, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. My family background, my father was actually in the construction business. So he had his own business. So I actually grew up in that business while going through school. And in fact, when I was at UBC, my summertime jobs were building homes, and actually Okanagan College at the time when I was going through UBC in Vancouver, I was up there building the science building. So kind of came full circle on that. So I definitely got a little creativity, maybe from my dad. He's artistic. He's always been in a band. He plays instruments and that sort of thing. I do not, but I'm sure that's where some of that came from.
That's fascinating. So you graduate, you're standing behind a counter, you're a pharmacist. You could have continued I don't mean just, but you could have continued to be a pharmacist. What happened? How were you standing there behind the counter one day? I'm most curious, I guess my sentence should be, could you see ahead to where we are today? What you have today, could you see it? Or did it evolve as you were becoming familiar with maybe opportunities in the industry or the sector?
Well, the thing that I liked the most about pharmacy in general is it opens the doors to a bunch of different aspects in the market. So you can stand behind a counter and serve the population, which is fantastic. I opened up Glen Park IDA Pharmacy when I was 26 years old. Love the community. Today, when I go back 20 years later, I still see people in the grocery store that we remember each other. We have conversations, which is amazing. So I love that part about community pharmacy. But there's also there's big pharmacy, there's getting into criminology and toxicology. There's other aspects of the industry which are quite exciting. What I really liked most is that we were at the infancy of what I would call technology, right? Mm-hmm. It was an industry that was poised to change through technology. And I came in right at the exact right time. And the first thing I did after setting up Glen Park IDA Pharmacy and operating that for a couple of years is I went with my partners at the time and set up what you term a closed door non-retail pharmacy, where we brought in the first in North America a piece of automation that actually packages medications a specific way. Mm-hmm. And we leveraged that packaging technology to go out to long-term care facilities as a better way to deliver medications at a patient's bedside, making it easier for nursing But also looking at what I would call low-hanging fruit impact for technologies, decreasing the errors coming from pharmacy. So prior to the automation, and what still happens a lot in the US and in some pharmacies in Canada, because you have no choice, this automation is expensive, is you have your pharmacy technicians all day dropping tablets into little cards, and it's a very manual process. And at the end of the day, manual processes always lead to some sort of error, no matter how hard you try and how great the staff is. That can happen from the pharmacy perspective. So by investing in the automation, I was able to reduce initially the errors coming from pharmacy. What we ended up doing is I still wasn't happy with what we were seeing in the long-term care facility. So as an example, it was easier for nursing for sure to actually utilize this new pouch package format. So nurses traditionally would go into a medicine cabinet, pull out, Nikki's medications and stick them on a medication card. And if you had 8 different medications, which is typical in a long-term care facility,
Right.
you would have 8 different cards for a dosing time of medication. So the nurse has to go through each card, pop them out into a Dixie cup, and provide the medication. Well, all kinds of things happen
Sure.
in a facility where, there's
Interruptions,
calls, there's interruptions, all kinds of things are happening. So medication errors happen at that end. So we started providing this multi-dose strip packet, which eliminated the card situation and the
Okay.
Dixie cup situation.
Okay.
But what we would find, as an example, if someone was to be administered 12 different medications, they may have 2 pouches that need to be administration at that medication administration time. The nurse might take off the first pouch, but and not provide the second pouch. So it'd be like called an omission error.
Okay.
And then everyone's so busy, you would sign off on a document that said you provide the medication. Then the next nurse comes along, 4 hours later, found the pouch, right? So I wasn't happy with the final result. So what I ended up doing was tracking all these inefficiencies, these miscommunications between pharmacy and nursing. And then I came up with the technology concept. So, which is a story in itself of how we kind of took it from there and moved that forward.
And I find that piece so interesting. So even if we unpack that piece, is your scope or your lens, are you still really geographically tight? Are you in this area? Or again, did you have your head up going, oh my gosh, this is something that could be greater? Or were you proving out the model?
I think, the first step was definitely proving out the model.
Yeah.
Right. So, and, I had to learn a lot. I'm a pharmacist. I didn't have a technology background. I had the idea, and I can think in ways of, I wanted to do this and do that, and let's put this in a database over here and access it over here. So that worked out quite well. But at the end of the day, we had to create a technology, right? We had to provide it, install it in long-term care facilities initially, the initial product. Then you had to support it 24/7 moving forward. So there was a lot to build on from my pharmacy background. So we brought an in-house development team in, and a lot of great people worked for the company over the years to help develop the initial solution, which has led to the greater opportunity that you discussed, which is a product in the home that does some amazing things. So, but at the core of everything we do and have done, we've stuck to this from day one. And it's been, it's just, something I've always been adamant about, with pushback with anybody on the board or whatever. It's always been about medication safety, and tracking the right dose to the right patient at the right time with everything that we do. And that has a phenomenal impact on patient health across the spectrum of solutions that we have.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine how significant that impact is. So I still want to pull it back. In that moment, you're a pharmacist, you identify a gap or a need or an opportunity to step in and have impact and make a difference. With all due respect, that was the easy part. You have to execute. Yeah. So I have the privilege, and I've said it a number of times in these sessions, I have the privilege of sitting down with hundreds of businesses in all sorts of sectors every year. And it's not unusual for me to see barriers come up in business, and they're looked at and considered, and they're maybe too great to jump over that hurdle. So if I back it up and I see if I can sort of envision where you were sitting, you had a lot of hurdles. Like
Sure.
I mean huge hurdles. So you have confidentiality, patient confidentiality. You have adoption of and trusting of technology in a space that didn't even have anything like it. Yeah. Am I right?
No, absolutely. Yeah.
So how on earth did you seek out mentors? Did you do it by gut and you just knew that you had to figure it out no matter what? How did you?
I think, it was a combination of some of the people I knew in industry. So I think it was kind of a who you know thing to help me drop down some of those barriers, such as, one of my good friends owned a few of the long-term care facilities in town, and they had a very keen staff to look at a better way to do things. They knew what their error rates were and what was happening at the patient bedside, right? And how could we make this better? And you have to have not only the nursing buy-in, which is actually the easiest part. Everyone wants to do better if they can.
100%.
But the ownership of these, the facilities and the pharmacies and, some of these stakeholders may not be bought in. So it helps to know some people who are bought
Absolutely.
in. I happen to have, we happen to have a business running with my partners who had multiple pharmacies. So we were able to inject early on the dollars required to create this technology. I came up with the idea and I had to convince everyone to kind of move in this direction. This will make us better, stronger, faster with better patient outcomes. And there's value to that. So as long as we're seeing the value in the better patient care, I was determined to get there, right? And find a way to do it. And, I guess the creative side kicked in and, we ended up, we have a patent today around how we communicate with this automation. So the first step was we need to tell that automation what to package. And then it's going to tell us what's been packaged and have a barcode on a pouch. So everything that we've built with our multiple solutions, and I can't wait to talk about Spencer at the end. It's so exciting. But it's all built off this patent where we track exactly what should be packaged in a pharmacy. Has it been packaged for a check, right? Has it been delivered where it's supposed to go? Check. And now we have all that data up in the cloud and down into our solutions, which is initially was a station in a long-term care facility to remind nursing what to provide and ensure that it has been scanned at the barcode level to the right patient for a perfect match, and completely eliminated medication errors at that point in time. And that was so exciting to see, because that was a real time impact on the lives of patients, nurses, and pharmacists all at the same time. And we were like, wow, we did this. It was just amazing.
So am I right in saying we actually flipped distribution of medication to be dealing with exceptions only? So now it's telling us, or flagging, or alarms going off letting us know when we haven't fulfilled what we're supposed to, because it's based on these data inputs.
Exactly, and especially at the end of the line. Yeah, absolutely. It's all about that. What were the exceptions? What hasn't been done, and flagging that with alerts on the screen for nursing. And then, of course, the first step is all about that pharmacy. How do we eliminate the errors coming from pharmacy? Because it does happen. Yeah. Right. So between the automation, the software technology that we built, and all the input from the nurses in Kelowna, and now we have a product that's rolled across North America that was developed locally from all the different healthcare workers here. It's just amazing.
It's beyond amazing, Shane. So now I wanna put you back in those early days.
It's a long time.
Entrepreneurs, we have great ideas. We all have great ideas. Mm-hmm. A lot of them don't see the light of day, and funding is absolutely a deterrent to that. So again, was this, are you, I often say entrepreneurs, we got many hats. We're throwing them on all day long. Were you also out there trying to get investors, or did you bring in a team to do that, or did you go to the bank and say, I got a great idea, write me a check for lots of millions? How did you do it?
The first step is, once we had a prototype built within the pharmacy that I was operating, and we had some proof points to show the world. The first step, what ended up actually happening was my partners in the overall business structure, which was a number of pharmacies across Kelowna, some in Vancouver and Calgary. I ended up spinning out this closed door pharmacy into its own company because I was going in a bit of a different direction. I wasn't going into, owning a bunch of pharmacies and doing what the rest of the team wanted to do, which was amazing. They were super successful. I wanted to get into technology and do something new, blaze a new path, because I saw the opportunity of, look at the impact we've had. And the results and the excitement. So you can bundle that all up and sell that. I'm sure we can, right? So I ended up actually spinning out that pharmacy and then selling the pharmacy and creating the cash flow for the technology company. That's how we started. So we had a few $1 million to try to find a way to bring this to market outside of our own pharmacy. So once we were able to do that, that's when I went out to be quite honest, local investors. Right, and started doing what we could do. And we did manage to raise through a couple of great groups in town here, a couple $1 million, which I learned at the end of the day is not enough to scale something across North America and have 100 staff and all those sort of things. So that was definitely again another learning experience. You went from pharmacist to learning about technologies and database structures and doing all those sorts of fun things, and how do you support and implement and train on the product, to now putting your finance hat on and figuring out a way to shake the trees and have some dollars, because you have to make this happen. And I think we're probably a little bit early in what we were doing, but the fun thing is, again, coming to where we are today, the market's turned right at us. This is, in fact, the whole industry has moved to technologies in patients' homes, and we're the leader. We've been out there for a while now, and it was started because we had some early help and support. We had to, as a Canadian company, I'm a founder of a sister company out of the U.S., which is different because it's a lot easier to raise dollars there. And I find here, you're going to do what it takes to make it happen. And it was a lot of ground combat, trying to bring the proper money in many days, paying the staff with my visa and all those sort of things. You just have to make it happen. But I knew at the end of the day we had the right vision, because everybody wanted this thing. We just had to keep the money coming to develop and install and grow the business. And it was a challenge, but we've come a long ways over the from then till now, 10 years later, of we were out there, everyone knows our name, and now we're right place, right time with what we've created. So it's very exciting. Dollars are a lot easier now than they were back then.
I'd say. So the scenario that we were just playing in was about 10 years ago. Is that right? Okay. So we continue to invest and develop and prove. At what point did we cross borders? Because I think I understand it's a whole different set of rules, Canada to US.
And the crossing of the border actually led us into this amazing solution we have today that's so desirable and impactful, which we'll touch on at the end for sure. But so we actually partner with an organization in Canada called McKesson. So one of the largest, I'd call it the largest healthcare company in the world. They're a Fortune 7, 8, 9 company. We actually ended up working with them. They happened to be the vendor, the seller of the automation that I acquired. So I was the first, pharmacy to adopt this automation. And those machines are a few $100,000. So what ended up happening is when I sold the pharmacies and putting all the money back in, we partnered with McKesson because they wanted to sell more of their automation across Canada. And we had this great EMR product for long-term care facilities. So it became a natural fit. We worked with them, with their sales team, and we were able to grow without having a lot of salespeople running around. We had a key partner that was handling sales, and we worked with our with McKesson. McKesson wanted to go down into the U.S. and start selling more of their automation down there. In the pharmacy world, for whatever reason, Canada is the incubator for ideas and technology in pharmacy, and then they go south of the border, which is an interesting fact.
That's interesting.
That's actually what happens.
Yeah.
So McKesson wanted to go down and sell more automation in the U.S. So I'm like, let's go solve the U.S. problems too. So let's, we'll bundle up our software and we'll go do it. What we found in the US is that pharmacies weren't willing to adopt the multi-dose strip packaging automation just because of the way reimbursement is for pharmacy in the US. We have extra support in Canada to help us adopt that automation up here. And but when we're out with all the long-term care facilities, what we found was the nurses loved the packaging format and they loved our EMR. So, 10 years later, we still have facilities running from the original days with our EMR. They just absolutely love it. So that led to, the finding of this other company called Pack for You. So what we ended up doing, we said, okay, well, there's something here. The nurses want this, right? They love the packaging format. We have the largest healthcare company supporting something that we're doing. So let's figure out a way to make this happen. So we went up and set up a pharmacy called Pack for You in Orlando. So because of the way that our software works, we tell the automation what to package. It tells us it's been packaged. It doesn't matter where that automation is. It can be in this room. It can be, in Europe. It doesn't matter because it's all over the internet. We have, that handshake to make sure everything's packaged, and so that allowed us to set up a central hub pharmacy and allow community pharmacies to send their orders into us. We would package into specialty packaging, ship it back to the pharmacy, and they deliver it to their long-term care facility. Nurses scan the barcode, right med, right time, bulletproof the medication delivery. So, and that's where I got extremely exciting because of this concept of the hub pharmacy providing access to this packaging format. We can now look at the greatest and best technology that I think there is out there, which is Spencer on the patient countertop in their home. Community pharmacies, they don't have the room to adopt this automation. But this packaging format, it's amazing because it's clear, runs through vision checking technology now. So the technology scans for the quantities of tablets, right shape, right color for 100% accuracy coming from pharmacy. And then you deliver in a specialty cartridge into this device that sits on your countertop that communicates live back to pharmacy. So in real time, we can tell exactly where a patient is in their home with their medication administration. And it has all kinds of bells and whistles, this connected care hub. And we can expand and grow with community pharmacies who we provide the back-end fulfillment, which is exciting. So that whole model and solution is completely taking off across North America right now. So I'm just so excited. And anyone gets the chance to look at our website, the testimonials that come in every day, the videos we have of patients' lives being changed in their home is just unbelievable.
So let's talk about Spencer. Adorable to look at. About this big?
It's about the size of a toaster.
About the size of a toaster. And Spencer's job is to be the bridge between the person in the home needing the medication and the pharmacy, the healthcare, the people that are. Could I, as a daughter of my mother, be aware of what she has or hasn't taken?
Absolutely, yeah. Everybody's connected. Yeah. The concept of connected care at home is the future, and who's going to connect? Usually the loved ones, the pharmacists for sure on the front lines with medication delivery, nursing, home care, physicians, clinicians, whoever gets access to components of the data when they want to see it, it completely impacts the lives of these patients.
So when did Spencer come to life?
So we invested in the manufacturer about 3 years ago now. So the manufacturer is actually out of Kentucky.
Okay.
We invested money into that because really the device itself relies on our patent. So it has to get the data from somewhere to tell it when to beep and whistle and flash when it's time for someone to take their medication. So that comes from our patent, how we communicate with the automation. We get all those dosing times and quantities, send it up to the cloud and down to the device. Okay. So you drop a cartridge into Spencer, and the pharmacy knows that the cartridge is in there because it's all communicating live in real time. And the device will basically beep and whistle and flash when it's time for someone to take their medications. You touch the screen, out comes the medication, and then you're forced to pull the medication through a laser light, which tells us that the medication is in the hand.
Dispensed.
Yeah. And then that sends a signal live back to pharmacy. So now pharmacists can do something which they have never been able to do before, is look at this data in real time and help patients in real time when they're non-adherent. Because it's so important especially for certain patients to take their medications on time. If they don't, there's consequences. You end back up in the hospital, increases the total care of healthcare costs and those sort of things, decreases the quality of life for patients. So, so the device has been a lifesaver, but pharmacy is very much integrated in real time in that communication. Then the things I love about the device also is when you pull that medication out, we pop up a question on the screen. You know, Nikki, how are you feeling today? Happy face, sad face. Touch that. You know, if we get a whole bunch of sad faces in a roll over 30 days, might want to be giving you a call and seeing what's going on. Maybe ask some other questions on the device. Are you sleeping at night? We get all this data back, and that's called patient-reported outcome data, which is really the holy grail of where healthcare is going. And we're one of the first companies to actually be able to get this data, you know, in volumes, right? It's just amazing. And the future with that data is, you know, AI and how do you, you know, automatically ask certain questions on the device based on responses and then feed that back eventually into clinicians in real time with some sort of alert. So all those sort of things are the future where healthcare is going, and you know we're at the forefront in the trenches of that now because of the pharmacy world. It's all about medication. You know, that's the center of our world, and on that you build around all the data that you can collect from the patient.
And I think you're still early. You're still early in people adopting and coming into this. So the competitive landscape, I'm hearing lots of firsts only. What's the competitive landscape right now today for you?
You know, there's a few different, call them devices, that are popping up in the market or have been around for a while, but nothing connected to pharmacy and nothing driven off of a full end-to-end solution, right? The right medications being packaged and scanned correctly all the way through to the device. There's, you know, as an example, there's a device where you have to take your bottles of medications and drop them into this device, and you got to type in your dosing times, and it's already an error waiting to happen right there.
It is.
So those sort of things exist, but as a full end-to-end solution, making sure that through the whole entire process of prescription fulfillment, that someone's going to get the right med at the right time. We're the only ones doing that because we control all the pieces, which is fantastic. So I agree. I think the concept of the device is, you know, somewhat early, but that said, you know, one thing about the new world we're in with COVID, it's driven the adoption of telehealth, right? Yes. So patients are avoiding going to their doctors, and nurses aren't going to patients' homes as much anymore. So it really is forcing the adoption of this type of technology. So a timely thing for our organization, as an organization that has kind of survived this COVID world, is we're seeing an acceleration now in growth because of, you know, just people want to stay at home, right? This connected care is now a real thing. And telehealth is completely exploding across the world. So we're kind of at the right place at the right time because of that. It's accelerated probably a couple of years. And we're starting to sign some big deals in the U.S. with some Medicaid health plans at the state level. We just signed 2 in the last week, Georgia and Missouri, for disability patients. So patients who you know, have always had help in their home, and now they don't need the help because they can push the button and deal with the medications. It's so easy, you know, as before they had to sort through all these vials of medications, and I understand why that wouldn't work, but this is so easy. So a lot of these patients are becoming, you know, sufficient and autonomous, and they're happy, and it's working out amazingly well. So the states are starting to jump on board and pay for this solution, and it's so it's really starting to take off now.
So at a patient level, if I come over to a different side of the table, at a patient level, I think there's obviously a persona of a patient that this type of having Spencer in your home, it makes sense. How is it cost prohibitive to get a robot in here? Is it covered through healthcare? Is it how accessible to the average consumer is Spencer?
Well, you know, it's a big question. One thing we knew we needed to do right out of the gates was get the data, right? Because to ever get a third party, whether it's a province, a health authority, a health plan in the U.S. to pay for this, we knew we needed to have the data. So we put all of our time and effort over the last probably 18 months, if not 24 months, doing studies. You know, we did a Parkinson patient study across Canada with multiple pharmacies, and you know these patients are on a lot of medication, and your whole life is evolved around when am I going to take my medication that day? Because if I miss it, some bad things can happen. So, but you know, until you're in that person's shoes, like every 2 hours or 3 hours you have to take something, so you're just stressed all day around have I taken it, when's my next dose, right? So we went in and really changed the lives of that population with that patient reported outcome data. You know, how are your tremors today? You know, severe, moderate, I feel fine. It's amazing the data you get in someone's home versus a patient showing up with their physician and being asked the same type of questions, you know, in every 3 months. Well, we do them daily, one question, we get phenomenal data. We literally changed the lives of these patients, which was a great first start for us. And then based off of that study, we ended up doing a study with the province of Alberta. So, and the Center of Aging as well. So it was like a combo medication adherence trial and the impact on patients' lives. And that was just, I think it was just placed in a journal in the last week or two. So I'll get you that information which journal it went into, but it's just an amazing study, amazing results. Patients were 98% adherent, which is unheard of, on their medication, meaning at the right time they took the right dose. And these patients are doing so much better. So we invested in those studies. Now with those studies, right, we're now in front of the payers. So we are getting some payers in the U.S. U.S. seems to be easier right now.
Oh, interesting.
You know, because they're, you know, the for-profit concept means that everyone's looking to increase the quality of patient care while decreasing costs, and this technology fits in perfect here. In Canada, the healthcare system set up a little bit different, so we're navigating some different areas and how to, you know, impact certain populations and, you know, create an ROI within certain sectors of the Canadian healthcare system, and it's starting to work well. So we're getting close to the payers. Pharmacies in Canada right now are covering the costs, or you know, or at least covering some of the cost, a portion of the cost for patients, to make it easy for patients to get access to this device, as long as you're on certain, you know, profile of medications.
Is Spencer mobile?
Spencer's not mobile, so Spencer, I mean, you can pick up Spencer and take it on a plane and plug it in somewhere. It's very easy. You plug it in. It has a cell chip in it, so it connects to the closest cell tower. And then because of how we have our cell tower, our cell information integrated into our cloud, it routes right back to the pharmacy. So no matter where you plug it in North America, you're going to connect back to your pharmacy. So it is somewhat mobile. We have an app on your phone that actually is more of a travel app. Yeah. And you know, that gets into one of your earlier questions where, you know, you as a loved one also has an app on your phone, so you can see what's happening with your mom, the questions that are being responded to in real time, adherence, has a mom taking her medications, all that information flows to the loved ones. And I think that's a key, you know, piece of, you know, of keeping the aging population at home. Everyone has to have the tools to help manage that, because most people want to stay at home. They don't want to necessarily go to a long-term care facility, right? So you know, having these tools is helping with that concept for sure.
So if I met you 15 years ago, Shane, and asked you what you wanted to be when you grow up, did you have this vision? Did you actually know how enormous of a system or a solution or a vision that you had that was going to literally impact the lives of people?
You know, I was just joking. One of the leaders of Cseking, actually, he was the president of Canada, is actually on one of my boards now. And at the time where we first started in Canada, and I adopted that automation, we sat together when we did our deal together, and we drew on a napkin the concept of how do we get this strip packaging into a home, and we said, well, we have a medication dispenser, we can do all these things. And then it literally took 10 years to turn that around to make it a reality. So, you know, it was always there. I think the concept of medication adherence and helping patients, not just in long-term care facilities, but in their home, was the holy grail. But there was a lot of steps and investment that had to be taken to go from there to into the patient home, because no one's really done that.
Napkin to home.
Exactly. So yeah, you know, I think the overall vision's been there, just around this medication adherence, right dose, right time concept, and that applies to everyone around the world. It's the same issues everywhere. People end up back in the hospital all around the world because of not taking their meds correctly. It's a major issue. So it is a global type opportunity. but you have to do baby steps,
Yeah.
and you have to just keep going, right? And there's a lot of hurdles. There's the payer hurdle in the US. You had to get the data, and then the sales cycles were 12 months down there, so you're spending money to make it happen, but now we're there and it's starting to take off. So yeah, it's that combination of I guess the pharmacist in me with trying to find a way to finance the company to make it a reality, with that vision. And we just as a company have never given up. We have a team that's been with us for 10, 15 years, and I have a lot of my staff from my pharmacies have come on board and have evolved into from pharmacy technicians to trainers to tech people, and it's just been an amazing ride for everybody. But you have to keep going to make it
And
happen.
that's that tenacity and grit that you have to have. So when something comes in front of you and it can't be done, you don't accept it.
Not a
you
chance,
you push through and demand it.
Yeah.
So I think your future's a tad bright. What's next?
Well, it's interesting because, and I can, and this will be great for some of the earlier investors, is the market has pointed right at this solution, this concept of pharmacy in your home and connected care and that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
So because of the relationships we've built up over the years, we have all these really large opportunities coming right at us right now, and we're signing the biggest deals we've ever signed. We're looking at the markets. I mean, the public markets in this area are completely on fire in healthcare and anything in the patient home, right? There's a race to get there. We're kind of in the lead actually in our space.
Yeah.
So, we're looking at, exit opportunities for investors, and knowing where we're going with the size of the companies we're now signing with, right? We need a lot of money to go big, and we've proven it. And we have amazing people around us. We have a fantastic healthcare board out of the U.S. The folks in Canada have been extremely instrumental in getting us here for sure. So no, I think we're definitely looking at going bigger and faster now, which is, I think if you're in the U.S., you can probably get there a little bit quicker with some of the financing. What I'm seeing in Canada, you have to prove it. You have to prove, to everyone that you have a viable solution, that you have customers, and then people want to throw the money at you and make this thing happen. And that's what's starting to happen to us now. So I think the timing is a perfect storm for us. Right solution, right place. The markets are exactly where we need them to be. So it's about, after all that hard work, really trying to, turn it around for our investors, which are going to do extremely well now, and have some fun moving forward with some scale.
I think I know the answer to this question, but
Okay.
I'm going to ask it anyway. Was there ever a day in the trenches where you said, "I'm tapping out. I'm done. I'm out"?
I guess it's my personality. It's a lot for me to tap out because I didn't tap out, but there were a number of times over from the thought from the concept to now where it was like, boy, am I going to make it through tomorrow? Right, absolutely. Where are we going to get this money from to keep the staff going? I don't want to let the staff go because we have to keep going. We're on the right path. So always found a way. Yeah, always found a way. So appreciate all the help I got along the way for sure.
Oh, it's such an incredible story. So I'm curious, in some of the information that I pulled, you have been recognized for something very incredible. Top 50. Help me.
Yeah, something came out last year where someone was digging into our set of companies around the medication adherence space and being on the cover. So it was a top 50 CEO type award. Surprised me as well, but I think that the combination of the space we're in, the studies that we've done to prove what we're up to, apparently they called some of our staff and they were all excited about what we're up to. So I ended up receiving some awards. So yeah, it was fun.
You're very humble, Shane. You're very humble. Are you you chair a board? Are you the chair of the board still?
Yeah. So the CEO of Catalyst, chair of the board in Catalyst, and Pack for You, which is the company that I just talked about, which is the pharmacy operation that's actually taking off across North America, because we need that backbone, that fulfillment for our solutions in Catalyst. We actually are looking at the opportunity of actually combining those two companies right now. So I can actually say that because it's actually happening as we speak. I think it's a 1 + 1 = 3 scenario, and then it will allow me and the strong leadership team that we've now have to really run the organizations in a more seamless manner, which is super exciting. So we can probably go a lot faster by having it all under one roof. And the market, again, pointed right at us, where we have the full end-to-end solution, the fulfillment technology right through to the patient on the countertop, and nobody has that under one roof at all. So there's 20 pieces that make that up, and we have them all right now. So that allows us, I think, to capture some of these larger contracts. And also, if we look at going public, those extra revenues coming together will help us out immensely. The multiples in this space are just crazy. So it's going to be should be a lot of fun over the next couple months for sure.
Shane, I can honestly tell you, from someone that just has lived in Kelowna for 23 years, I'm so proud to have your company in this community, and that the roots are attached here. It's such an amazing story, and I can't wait to see what you do tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that.
Awesome.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for your support. Yeah, much appreciated.
Thanks, Shane.